What do you do? Do you do a snap? Do you do a clap?
Yeah.
Do you do a
big snaps, big claps? No, I just kind of go, hey, everyone.
Hey, everybody. I'm Shia Man here.
Hey, everyone. Okay. All right, boys. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Cool.
In 3, 2.
Game face. Nice.
All right.
Okay, no shoe nice. All right, go ahead, Lewis.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Span. I am your host, Louis Illigus IV. We are covering the films of 2007, all the good, the bad, and the ugly, but not that film since it's from the 60s.
Really close, though.
Really close, yeah.
Almost made the cut.
Anyways, today we've got 2 Shia LaBeouf films.
Oh.
Nope, no guess. We're talking Transformers and Disturbia. With me today, I've got 2 fine fellows. One's finer than the other, but I won't tell you which one is which.
Take a lucky guess.
We've got Averick Faeth and Brandt Garber.
What's going on?
That's a cool name. I forgot that's your last name.
You know, it's not a biblical name, but it's really close to a biblical name.
If you do a band or your artist name, can you do Faith Averick?
I could.
I think that's kind of cool.
Well, it's also not Faith like
with an I.
Yeah, it's with an E.
With an E.
That's even cooler.
So
like
I get a Faith sometimes, and I don't quite love it. You know, it's like it's not as cool as it looks. Well, but off the tongue, you know, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'll let it sit there a while.
Yeah.
It's no Louis Illigus IV.
It's no Louis Hilly. Yeah. Thanks for having us. Last time I was here, we were covering some really cool movies, and it was just mano y mano. But now we can give another person mano.
Dude. Glad to have you both back. Brandt was on the first episode. We covered Walk Hard and Blades of Glory. And then Averick, you and I did Superbad and Wild Hogs.
I mean,
dude,
Superbad dope, but
Wild Hogs never die.
Truth.
True that.
And, you know, you mentioned the 2 Shia LaBeouf films, and those 6 movies in a conversation just shows you how 07 is, how, like, expansive.
Yeah. We're starting to build up that vernacular for sure. Last week we did Pirates 3 and Pirates 3 and Spider-Man 3. And those are basically those 2 and Transformers are in the top 5 performing films of the year. You know, we're just starting to kind of get into, I feel like, what were the real big blockbusters.
What was number 1?
That was Pirates. Pirates was number 1. Yeah. I think Spider-Man was 3, and I think this was number 5.
Interesting.
I know Juno's up in the top 10, which is like fucking crazy, at least domestically.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're talking Transformers first, you know?
Come on.
Directed by Michael Bay, the first of 5 directed by Michael Bay. I mean, this was a huge career diversion for him. Are you guys Bay fans at all? Have you seen Bad Boys or any of his other films, Pain and Gain?
Bad Boys is with Will Smith and I can't remember the other guy's name. Martin Lawrence. Right. Okay, yeah. I'm not a huge fan of like his early work because I feel like for our generation, he was the Transformers guy, and then moved on to the stereotypical idea of explosions and loud noises and very visual as far as a...
Yeah, well, there is something, you know, I'll put a pin on that real quick on, your experience with Bay, but, like, this is a film that is introducing a lot of kids to kind of, like, the flashier war shooting that, like, Bay would do in his other films, right? But it's insane that it came into Transformers because, like, these guys, the producers were originally going to make a G.I. Joe movie. And post 9/11, they just, in the Iraq War, they were just like, we're not sure what the optics are like on, like, doing, like, a full military thing. But it's crazy because they sidestepped to Transformers, but then Bay just turned it into that anyways. I mean, the army's all over this, people stealing America's tech. Like, it's wild.
That fucking line near the end where, the Secretary of Defense guy.
Yeah, played by John Voight.
Yeah, and I don't know what they're saying, but I think it's when the military, the guys kind of like turn on the Sector 7 dudes, and he's like, "You better listen to these boys. They never lose."
exactly.
Like such a fucking, like propaganda ass, like, damn, military dope.
Yep.
So, but I think Pain and Gain and probably this movie are my favorite of Michael Bay.
Pain and Gain?
Yeah, it's like The Rock and fucking Mark Wahlberg play bodybuilders based on a real story where they like fucking kidnap a dude and they like steal his money, and for a short time they like live this crazy life, but they're dumb as fuck, so they get caught.
Interesting.
But yeah, they're pretty solid.
I'm not too familiar with Bay's early career, but I did catch Ambulance last year, and I really thought that it was awesome. It had Jake Gyllenhaal as the lead, and it's kind of like about a bank robbery gone wrong, where they shoot this like this security guard basically, and so they put him in the ambulance that they steal to get away from the scene. And they have to keep this guy alive because if he dies, then like suddenly, they're definitely going to jail. They're fucked. And it's actually, Bay was able to bring in a lot of drone shots. Like he literally just got like a YouTuber that was like a pro at like piloting him. And because of that, he didn't have to, get helicopters to do these like crazy citywide shots and stuff. And so he was able to keep the budget really low. In Ambulance, but there's also some really cool stuff, like the drone flies under a car as it jumps over it.
Damn.
There's like an explosion. Like, dude, it's some sick stuff,
and it's practical effects.
All practical. I mean that. Well,
is that
I say all practical, but that's exactly. Michael Bay loves to blow stuff up practically. That's But if you want to talk about auteur theory, this is one of the guys where it's like you notice he is behind the camera. Right, because like nobody else blows shit up like this specifically, and then again, like you said, a lot of the U.S. military propaganda and the bros being bros, like he loves like a lot of these tropes, and and he references his own movies in his films. Like there's a reference to Armageddon in this, where like a guy's running and he's like, this is doper than Armageddon, or like whatever. Wow, and it's the same thing in Ambulance. I think one of the characters quotes Pain and Gain, or like another, like two of his films.
Are they all in the same universe?
The Bayverse? I mean, they can't be, right? If it's a movie in your universe, like then it's not.
It's all one.
It's just reality.
I'm gonna have to ask Michael on this.
It's all one. It's all.
Yeah. Michael, what's going on?
The end credits scene.
Mr. Bay.
Which it is.
What do you think about the allegations, Mr. Bay? Mr. Bay.
Are there?
Yeah.
For what?
The Bayverse.
Oh, there are allegations that there's a paper.
I don't know, man. Sounds like Bayhem to me.
Hey.
Oh man.
Hey,
baby.
There is one more thing I wanted to bring up about the budget of this film, though. It's about $150 million. And when you can compare that to Pirates and Spider-Man, those were about $250 to $300 million movies.
Really?
There's some of the most expensive movies ever made. The Pirates of the Caribbean, like specifically that franchise, just keeps getting more and more expensive.
This looks like it's as expensive as those.
That's the thing, though, is like, again, back to Ambulance, like Bay knows how to stretch a budget like in a really great way. And another big part of it is they got permission from the U.S. military to use their planes and their locations. And so when you're not paying for those things, then, it's able to take the cut down, the budget down a bit.
Right. Interesting, yeah. But they do have a lot of like arsenal, like warfare.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is and that's the thing. This kind of kicks off a start of like blockbusters working with the military a little bit more often, like Iron Man next year. Like definitely hits that a lot. These are both films that are almost against the military complex, because like this film, while it still has heroes that are in the military, they also have the Decepticons. Like, the first Decepticon at the beginning of the movie shows up as a jet, like a U.S. jet, and comes onto a base and then just fucking decimates everything.
God, whoever the voice actor for Starscream is fucking awesome.
Did they get the same, or is it only because I know Optimus has the same voice actor, like from the cartoon? Is Starscream?
No, dude, Optimus is Liam Neeson.
No, it's not.
No, it's not Liam Neeson.
It does sound like him. It does sound like it's not.
It's
Peter Weller.
It's a totally different.
He's the guy that was in the cartoon that did it, but it does sound like Liam.
I swear.
Yeah,
I thought.
there were some lines where I was like,
Dude,
"That sounds like Liam Neeson for sure."
Do you think he has the bass like Liam? Because I feel like that's so much of Optimus Prime is that like booming voice, like Darth Vader.
Yeah,
you know. Because Liam Neeson has a good voice.
Yeah,
but
he does. But it's very distinct, man. I've told so many people that Liam Neeson.
No, but he's very Irish. So like I think I just hear a lot more of the head tones in his voice, even though like he is very gruffy.
Yeah.
But like that bass of Optimus Prime, like it fucking hits.
Sam, put the all spark in my chest.
Oh, it feels good.
No, Sam.
No,
put
Sam.
it in my chest. My Megatrons.
Wait, nothing's happened. Or just put it in there.
Yeah,
just do it already.
It's happening. It's happening.
Okay, so the first movie, I know you guys just recently rewatched it, but from my stand-up point, my only last time I've watched it was almost a couple years after it came out. And, it was like one of the first times I ever smoked weed. So I was absolutely like super, super high and like very young, and eating pizza, like a very stereotypical stoner story. And my my buddy's parents got home and I'm like alone on the couch watching Transformers. So I was like, oh my God, don't look at them, watch Optimus. And I got super into the movie. And it was really interesting that like the visuals of that movie are even crazier, you know? But it's so funny that the culture things like for a couple of years, like, oh, I love Transformers, And then it slowly got a little stinky,
Of course. Well, and that's what's interesting is another thing about this film, right? Produced by DreamWorks, and secretly produced by Steven Spielberg. So he is not credited anywhere on this script or in the film itself, but he absolutely like was an early adopter of this. He picked the writers, even picked Bay. And another thing Spielberg did was handpick Shia LaBeouf.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he essentially, so Spielberg has always been known for like picking young talent really well. Christian Bale shows up as a kid in Empire of the Sun. Ben Stiller is also like a child actor there, but he was also like a Nepo baby. So, maybe you could say that's how he got in. But an AI, artificial intelligence, like that's got, I forget the guy's name, but it's a kid from The Sixth Sense.
Oh, fuck. Haley Joel Osment.
Thank you. Yeah. But he's just always kind of on the pulse for like finding and discovering talent sometimes. And so Shia LaBeouf was his pick, and he lined Shia LaBeouf to be up in Transformers and then to be in Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
That's right.
Which comes out next year.
Oh, that was an 2008 film?
2008.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because Shia LaBeouf's career really was just going at this point, right? Disturbia was shot before these two, but he shot himself in the foot like very early on. Yeah. Because when he was in doing press for Crystal Skull, he was actively shitting on the movie.
On
Crystal Skull?
Steven?
Oh, no, sorry. Shia LaBeouf
was shitting on this movie.
Shitting on Crystal Skull
Damn.
during press.
Damn.
And that really pissed off Harrison Ford and Spielberg because they're like, hey, man, like, we get it. Sometimes the movie's not like what you want it to be, but like, you can't turn around and do this. Like, we're all part of the same team, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And so that was like a light blacklisting of Shia LaBeouf. But
how old was he during that time?
Well, I don't know what age he is around here, but I think he seems like early 20s. Like,
maybe 19
anything.
even.
Like,
but this is 07, so that makes him like reaching 40 nowadays, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, he still looks pretty young. I mean, he looks pretty like he's
he plays younger than he is.
More muscular, exactly. But like a lot of actors that take care of themselves, they still can play younger. But I don't know. His career is an interesting one because it seems like a lot of just shooting himself in the foot. Yeah. He just kind of like he did stuff like he did all this like performance art, and then he got caught for plagiarizing one of these pieces, and then in his apology for plagiarizing, he plagiarized his apology speech to try to be like, oh, dude, just to try to be like, oh, it's this like meta commentary thing, like which actually like
that's funny.
I think is pretty funny. That's why I bring it up.
But then he doubled down.
But then exactly. But But there's also shit like I don't know, like Honey Boy. I really loved Honey Boy when it came out. I saw it at Sundance, and it like literally, you know, a year after it came out, he's like, I made all that shit up. I didn't have a hard childhood at all.
Yeah,
like my dad was nice to me.
He made that up.
He said that.
Do you think he was lying about making it up?
That is what I'm saying. You can't take anything from him seriously, and like he's just kind of done so much back and forth, right?
Yeah.
The bag on the head. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not famous anymore. Like shut up. Come on, man. Like,
also, one of the biggest memes in the world, probably the "Just Do It" meme, was like a wildfire across the internet.
Oh yeah, Just Do It, and then the Shia LaBeouf song, right?
When he freestyled out of nowhere. That was ridiculous.
Have you ever looked at the source for the Just Do It like memes? Because it's like he's
like doing he's like an advertisement,
right? He's in a green screen, and he recorded like about a half hour of him just doing like whatever, and he was like that's why he's like, you know, he gets that monologue because he's just fucking riffing. But he essentially wanted people to like remix the green screen tech of him into other things, and like. It happened, you know, like it became a fucking meme. He knew what he was doing.
Wow.
Yeah, just a
interesting,
really crazy.
I have a really good honorable mention for a movie he was in that I'll bring in later.
Right now it's fine.
Okay, it's called Tax Collector. Have you guys seen that movie?
I haven't heard of it,
dude. Okay, so this is like a couple years ago, so he's still, you know, a little wacky in the head, but he like. Literally leans into this role 100%.
Yeah.
And he plays a guy called Creeper. And he is just, he's like a shooter for like a Mexican cartel. But he's called what you call a tax collector. You know, you owe me money and you didn't give me my money, then, you know, Creeper's going to come and take it. But it's Shia LaBeouf. And Shia LaBeouf is not Latino at all, as far as I know. But, dude, he like, you know... I'll do that then. You know, like she like fully leans in and like wears these sunglasses and like greases back his hair.
This isn't the movie where you got the crazy chest tattoo,
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, the David Ayer film?
I think so.
Google it.
Yeah.
Dude, you should watch it because...
It recently released, right?
Yeah, like a couple years ago. And dude, it's actually a pretty good movie and his performance is awesome, but like... not for the right reasons in my mind. Like it kind of like throws me off. I'm like, why is he like so involved in this like random movie?
He did Southern pretty well.
Yeah.
In the,
oh my God. Look at that.
Yeah. No, that's what I was saying. I've seen the tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got like a real tattoo piece for the film too. Like it's permanent. Some of it's makeup, some of it's practical.
Yeah. 18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Pretty good.
I mean, I'm not one to give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes, but that's bad. That's bad. Like, yeah, we all know.
If you're below the 20% bracket on Rotten Tomatoes, your movie is just not very good.
Probably.
But I recommend it. It's a fun watch.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did Southern pretty well in Peanut Butter Falcon. That came out in the last couple of years. It's like kind of like a Huckleberry Finn story.
Dude, he's a very good actor.
That's the thing is like
straight up,
dude. I mean, Even Stevens, right? Like, did you guys watch that growing up?
Even Steven,
right?
Yeah,
I
saw a little bit.
He knows.
He's still a kid, or he's like teenage actor.
It was in reruns. I think when me and Brandt were kind of growing up, so you probably just missed it.
You're still in your mom.
Yeah, I was still just a little swimmer in my dad's sack.
Oh my God.
Oh man, you're just watching Baby Einstein.
Yeah,
still,
you were.
Whatever. Like you were alive, just not aware.
Man, I was watching Blue Clues. Okay, come correct.
Blue Clues.
Blue and a clue and a 1, 2, 3. Sorry.
All right. Well, yeah.
Going back to Transformers.
I was gonna get into the plot.
Please, yeah.
But I don't, unless you had something to say.
It's just in each of his movies that I've seen, he like actually brings a lot of emotion through, and I think that's really cool. And like in the first Transformers, I think him and his performance and Megan Fox and the sparking visuals really brought it to the attention of like why we're talking about it.
Yeah, they're definitely keyed in. I mean, Shia LaBeouf, it's interesting when you contrast his two characters in these films because in Transformers, he is playing a very wimpy, almost cowardly type of guy, you know, a nice guy, if you will. And it's like, it's the shifting pendulum of like where leading men are going in this era, where it's like, okay, we can like lay off a little bit of the action hero macho-ness of the 80s and 90s, and we can kind of like bring a nerd up into the foray.
Relatable.
But but they still like try to make him stand up for himself. You know, like he has an early scene with a jock where he's like, just, you know, it's a back and forth, and he's like, oh, you know, he didn't make the football team, he's getting made fun of that. And he's like, well, you know, I was actually there just writing a book. It was a book researching brain damage in football players. Maybe you and your buddies will know about it. It's got pop-up books and crossword. Like, you know, like it's just like, I remember that hitting really hard in 07. Like, I think every guy that was probably like me was like, oh yeah, man.
Exactly. Yep. Finally, they're sticking up to him.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think in both Disturbia and Transformers, I think Shia is able to like, because he does things that are like kind of so ridiculous, and I'm like, would someone really do that? But like when he does the big arm, when she's like, I like a guy with big arms, and he's like doing this, and it's like, that's absurd.
Like, I just put the disco ball in the back and
like and like he's serious though, like he's like really like trying to. I'm like, would anyone really do that? But like he makes it like work. Like I don't know.
My friends would do that.
Yeah,
I remember like that was like a line people would repeat. Yeah. Like it, which is so it's crazy.
He's good at selling it really.
Absolutely. Well, the intensity there, and he's just down to goof, you know. I think
down to goof.
He's a goofy fella.
He's D to G, you know.
Yeah.
SB.
I would hang out with Shia LaBeouf for a night.
I don't know if you want to.
You know, I had a friend who Hank. Thank you, Hank. You can follow him on Twitter. That's his handle.
No problem.
Thanks, Hank.
Hank. So Shia LaBeouf did a performance piece called "Pick Me Up Anywhere," and he broadcasted his location on a 15-minute timer online. The conceit was you could pick him up and take him anywhere else.
Oh,
I kid you not. That was
How is he not dead?
It's insane. So my friend Hank drove 13 hours to get him, like to Idaho or Iowa. It was somewhere in the Midwest, and then brought him to Salt Lake.
Wow.
But they had like a long car ride, like totally became friends. They still chat. Really? Like they like texting. Like we were literally, like I told you guys, I was at Sundance seeing Honey Boy, and Hank was sitting down next to me, and he's like texting Shia, like, oh yeah, I'm here to see your film. You know, it's gonna be awesome.
Wow.
It's so I have heard. I'll at least throw in my ringer there that like he seems like a decent dude in that way, but you know there are worse allegations against him for battery and you know just things that are kind of like a fine line for me with some people sometimes. Where I'm like, you kind of cross that line. I don't know if I really do want to hang out with you.
Like know? You're chill and all, bro, but don't hit women.
Yeah, right. It's like I don't know, man.
I mean, I would assume the same. You know? But everyone has their flaws, so it's like, you know, I could love this guy, but you know,
no, you can't like choke me and almost kill me, and I won't like you anymore.
Right.
But for sure,
you know, it is interesting though. Like if you want to bring up, I don't know, fucking Ezra Miller or some shit right now, where it's like his movie's not going away, even though he's being charged for crazy stuff.
Interesting how that works.
The Flash.
The Flash has been in really fast.
It's been in development hell forever. But Michael Keaton is coming back as Batman in it.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I saw him reading a script on the bar, and I wonder if I really wanted to see it, dude.
Dude, you should have.
I really wanted to look over, but he's so like closed off. Like you cannot talk to him about shit. And he was talking to his wife, flipping through these pages, and I was like,
I mean, every time he's been there, he's been very kind. Keaton's the fucking homie, man.
Yeah, I would say he's chill.
Chill. Yeah, wait, not kind. I mean, yeah, but I mean, even when there was like a family that was like, "Oh, we loved you," and the other guys, and he was like, "Really, the other guys?" He was just having fun
not
with them.
Beetlejuice or Superman, you know, or not Superman. Batman. Oh yeah, everyone knows Michael Keaton was Superman. You know that?
I didn't know that.
He was Tim Burton's first choice, you know? He was like, all right, I'm making Superman.
Yeah. And then he got casted, and then he was also the Riddler, and he was also...
the Riddler.
The Riddler.
Yeah, I'm the Riddler, baby.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Okay, well, Transformers, you know... Okay, let me just break down the plot here for you guys.
Streamline it. curious.
In case anyone hasn't heard it, watched it in a while. Starts with like Optimus Prime giving a long ass monologue about some cube being lost to Earth. Essentially, there's this what is it? The Allspark. It's kind of like the thing that like gave them life almost, right? Like, isn't that the idea behind this device?
I believe so.
Yeah. So it's
God cube.
It's fallen to Earth, and Megatron has also like he came to Earth hundreds of years ago and basically got frozen in ice,
right?
Looking for the Allspark, and so they've just been chilling, waiting to be activated. And kind of like Shia LaBeouf, his grandfather basically discovered Megatron, and the government, took the body of Megatron and just started like studying him, dissecting him, and they built all of modern technology essentially like off of this dude's back. It's kind of like a cool little piece of lore.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, basically this film is just about Sam, kid in high school who, doesn't really fit in fully. He loves cars, and he's buying his first car. His dad takes him. He runs into Bumblebee there, right? And
Bumblebee's like a shit car to begin with, right?
Yeah, well, he goes to like a used like car place, right. And like he is like a beat up like Camaro, Charger.
Old,
what is he?
I think right.
It's old Z28.
You're the car guy, so that's why I'm like.
Yeah. I think it's an old ass Z28 Camaro.
Yeah,
like the bad year.
Right.
Sorry if anyone knows that.
Dude, that's my car.
It's not a good year, and you know it to be true.
Yeah, it is a fun scene though, like when they're like picking out the car because
Bernie Mac.
Bernie
really?
Mac, yeah. But also like every time they go away from the Camaro, right?
Yep.
It essentially does something to fuck up the other cars in the lot. Like it opens its door and slams it into like the bug that they're looking at, and he's like, "Well, this car's dented. Now I can't buy that one." And then like eventually like blows up the windows and all of everything on the lot.
Stereo.
Yeah, because the line is,
car chooses the driver.
Exactly.
That was such a trailer ass
doesn't
line.
Pick the car. Car picks the driver. Come on, man.
I remember that. Like
it was Bernie Mac who said
Bernie
it.
Mac. Yeah, he brings them in.
But once this gets going, really they're just looking for the Allspark. It's just kind of like some comedy of errors of like keeping the Transformers a secret. Eventually the government gets involved, and then it's just a big chase to get the cube and then to fight over it. I mean, there's really no plot past those points. Yeah. I would say that's worth bringing up.
Sure.
Super heavy.
And that's like what you
that
need.
That guy misses his baby.
yeah, that's right.
Wait, what happened?
Josh Doom, the military guy.
There's a guy in the military base at the beginning, and before whatever the dude is that attacks the Decepticon that attacks him, he's on video chat with his wife, and he's like, "Can't wait to hold my baby."
Yeah, and you're like, "This guy's not holding his baby."
Yeah, you're like,
that guy's not gonna die at all.
Yeah, and he actually doesn't.
Oh, really?
But it kind of you would think.
Isn't he like one of the leads?
He's
like
he's the leader of the army.
Like the good-looking guy. He's
drunk like this. Look, your hair.
Yeah, he's
literally.
like this. He's like,
dude. Yeah, he looks like Rick Flag from Suicide Squad.
Interesting. So the plot is, it has to be something like that for those types of movies because it's like but see the thing is like let's bring that same movie into different other movies like King Kong or Godzilla.
Oh
right?
God, yeah.
Big things fighting each other.
I was thinking about King Kong while watching this.
And Godzilla.
Was King Kong 2005 or 6? It's close, right?
It's
before this.
It's after the Lord of the Rings,
but it's before
I
Transformers.
think it's 05. 06.
I feel like it's 05.
I think it's later. I think it might even be like.
Let me use my second brain here.
8. I don't. Yeah, that's tough.
I'm gonna say 05.
Okay.
Oh man, it might be 06. I'm like 05.
That's 05.
Get my baby back. Nice. Oh yeah.
Which I love that one. I actually
go ahead.
I actually loved King Kong. It's one of my favorite movies.
Dude, I saw it in the theaters as a kid, and even though it was like 3 hours and I had to go pee at some point, I was holding my pee in forever because I loved it that much. Like,
did anybody play the video game based off the film?
I don't know if I did.
Dude, I played the fuck out of that game.
I remember it was like when it came out. I remember seeing it all everywhere.
Oh my
God,
it was so much fun. They had like really interesting mechanics. They had this mechanic where you could like pick up spears and throw them, instead of like using your ammo, and it was like very dystopian and
so
scary.
you played as like an army guy and not like
you play literally as the main characters.
Got it.
You could play as
I assumed
Jack
it
Black.
was.
And Jack Black always has the camera and goes, that's the shot. That's the shot, you know?
'Twas beauty killed the beast. I think that was like a Xbox 360 launch title too. I remember in Target, the kiosk, that was one of the demos you could play was King Kong. And I was like, this game looks fucking
and
good.
you can play as King Kong too.
That's an interesting thing about that King Kong movie is like they made a Universal attraction out of it. It's part of the tram tour where a bunch of T-Rexes, I think, come in and attack the car.
Yeah. It's super cool.
Yeah, just wild that they got a video game, a movie, and like a theme park ride out of like all these things.
Did you guys like Skull Island? Did anyone watch Skull Island?
I didn't.
Skull Island's pretty good.
I like it.
It's really funny. There's like one part where this guy like runs up to a monster with grenades, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna fuck this guy out. You know, like I'm gonna sacrifice myself. It's gonna be epic. And everyone was like, no, come back. And he's holding the grenades. He's like, come on, you motherfucker. and then the beast like comes up and walks up to him and looks at him, and then turns around, whips him with his tail, and he goes smashing into the mountain next to him, and explodes the mountain. And it's just like his sacrifice was nothing, man. Like it's fucking awesome because that's what we like. Really, what I love to see out of like these monster movie flicks is like we all know the violence is whatever, you know. It's cartoonish. And that's why it's fun to see like the Decepticons, like they're chasing Optimus Prime on the freeway in the finale, and like he just like comes out of his car form and just starts slicing buses on his way. No reason to do this, like, you know. But he's like, civilian car that needs to blow up. Boom, boom, boom.
He like falls, and there's a bunch of people. Megatron's gaze up, and he's like, ew, and he flicks that guy. He's like, he like flicks him into a taxi cab. And he's like, oh, I can't handle it.
That's good stuff.
But then the Autobots are like, oh, we don't kill humans, so you can't kill the humans. And you're just like, should I be squares? Come on, man.
Yeah. They're humans. They're
higher life forms. We don't interfere with them.
Yeah. Dude, oh my God. But like, it's funny because, yes, all these movies are, you know, very grabbing for the eyes. They're not, you know, script oriented or very interesting in their plot, but they have their moments, and those moments are really good, and it shows like the artistry.
Well, these are movies built for the action, right? Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of what I was getting at with the plot, is that I would have liked a third act that was a little more emotionally satisfying, because like when it's just a character who's like, I have the thing everyone's running after, right? I have the MacGuffin in my hand. It could be anything. It's just kind of like it's empty, right? Because it could be an infinity gem in his hand, or it could be this fucking Allspark. Like it's all really the same. What I was really liking is in the first act of this film, when they're kind of setting up Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox's relationship. Bumblebee is like a big part of it, because essentially like his car is like talking to him through the radio and all these songs. It's before he knows his car's a transformer, but it's like nudging him to do all the right things to kind of like win her over, right? Like it breaks down at the right time at like a beautiful sunset, and he's like, all right, this is the part where you'd kiss her, right? And put your arm around her. Like I wanted a little more push and play in that way, because I thought the first act's really fun when they get into that, because you know, you want to see how it's affecting Sam's life more than just him becoming a generic action hero, right?
Yeah, it would help too, because like you said, they start that, but then kind of when he's like Bumblebee, and I feel that, like I feel that he, you know, and then when Bumblebee's getting like fucked up in the military, I was like, oh man, like it's really sad.
Yeah,
but it would be a little more impactful if like it had more of a relationship. I guess, like it kind of
if there's just something to fight for, some stakes for him. Like
he thinks it's a normal car, and then it's like a freaky car, and he freaks out, and then it gets into it. Like they don't have that moment to even kind of really be like, I don't know, to bond.
Right. No, it's very subtle. You know, it's like a very subtle bond. It's not like a big.
Well, and that's the trouble with a character that they purposely, you know, they say he can't talk, right? That his voice box is broken or whatever.
Which I love.
It's a really fun
when he's like, you know, falling from the stars. like, oh,
dude, it's the sound design in this entire thing really slaps. Like you said, Bumblebee's voice, but also anytime the Transformers move, you get this like, and it creates a motif in your head so that you know every time you hear that noise, like a Transformer is gearing up to do something cool. But I think like movies in general don't try to sound cool enough because it's a made up noise. Like these robots move in a made up way. You know, they're jets in the air, and then they pause for a second to punch something, and then they turn right back into a jet. Yeah. Like none of it makes sense from a physics position. But we don't give a shit, you know. Yeah. So it's like I don't need the sound to only come from metal moving, right? Like give me another futuristic sound that sounds different.
Yeah. The sound design's awesome. So fucking cool.
I just think about Star Wars, you know, like the blasters in Star Wars, the lightsabers, like all of those things really heighten the film just to another level. And like I was watching Guardians 3, really liked it. But as they were like firing from the ship, I was kind of like, these just sound like normal lasers. And I was just like, I would really like just a little more character in these things. Like,
I agree.
Sometimes.
It's a great display of power. You know, like even if like in anime, right? You have this crazy visual for an attack, but like the sound of the
ooh, that's good.
You know, it's really interesting.
Be a Foley artist, man.
You know, I'm a multi-talented man. What can I say?
Multi-talented man.
I'm a multi-talented man. I'm a mumbling man.
Come here, mama.
And so with the with Transformers too. What I'm really curious about is the only time we're going to see a Shia LaBeouf character again is in the new one. Because in this new film, it's a fucking nobody guy, right, that stumbles upon a car that's not Bumblebee, and it's the same dynamic as the first movie.
Sorry, are you saying the new
Rise of Beast, the one that comes out?
Oh, the new one that's
the newest one that's about to come out has that same dynamic. Yeah,
gotcha.
Like in the beginning, like there's a guy that doesn't know anything about Transformers.
Yeah, it seems like a clean entry point, and they want it to be because
like, I want to
after 5 Michael Bay movies and then a Bumblebee spinoff, I think they're kind of they know they need to do something new. I think that's why they really focused on the Beast in the marketing too. It's like they're like, look at all these cybernetic like different things that you haven't seen.
Did you watch that show when it was out, Transformers the Beast Morphers or something? It was like 90s. It's
sure.
It's like early CGI animation.
Did you watch a lot of the cartoon shows?
I watched a little bit. Yeah.
Like all of them, or just that?
Some of the old school like 80s one, very little, but I definitely did. But then the Beast Morphers one was the one I watched probably the most. But it's like early, like bad 90s CG, but it's cool. Like it's really.
I bet dope. It has its. It has a lot of charm.
It does. That's a lot of charm. I love things.
I played some games that were. Dude, I played a lot of Transformer games too. I played like 3 Transformers games. It's so bad.
I played a lot of movie tie-in games, man. I don't blame you. This was the era for that.
Yeah, that's true. They don't make them anymore.
Well, just not in the same way.
Yeah,
and
right.
I get it because sometimes they were the most creatively bankrupt properties you had ever seen.
Oh,
where it was like. The movie comes out at this date. We need the game on the shelves. We don't give a fuck what the game is. Like literally, just as long as it has the title, push it the fuck out, whether it's ready or not, or even worth making. But then sometimes you get this miracle of like Spider-Man 2, where it is literally
like one of the best.
More expansive than the movie itself. It has more villains, but they're also bringing in like Bruce Campbell to do the narration and like great voices. It's just like those games like somehow
it's true.
We're really great. Yeah,
it's true. Spider-Man 2 is probably one of the biggest like we need that back. The way that was made, like the concept and the swinging, and that did come back. Thankfully, it got a full revision and it came out. But
for a lot of
years, you won't see that for the Transformers games.
I mean, dude, there's probably like 5 or 6 Spider-Man games just trying to recreate the magic of Spider-Man 2 that weren't able to do it until Insomniac did it on PS4.
Ultimate Spider-Man kind of did it. That one's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I did play Web of Shadows and like that.
Web of Shadows is pretty cool
it's
too.
Like that's more linear.
Yeah, but I did like that one also.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be Spider-Man? Those games are gonna do okay.
True that.
Actually, the Transformers game that I played was really good. Like you can transform seamlessly. You play as a Decepticon, and then you play as good people as the Autobots.
Yeah.
So
you kind of just drive around the city, and then change forms whenever you want.
It's it's like a
like GTA almost.
Exactly. So it's a free roam game, and then you go to the missions, I believe, and then you start the mission.
Yeah.
And it was fun as the Decepticons. Like Starscream is my personal favorite Decepticon in the movies, and I thought it was so cool to fly around.
I was just not expecting you to come in and be such a Starscream.
I know, Starscream boy.
He's cool. Megatron's like, I'm really mean.
Megatron is so fucking boring.
It's like, dude, Starscream is your right hand man, and he can fly. Yeah. What other fucking guy can fly? Oh, there's a guy that's I think it's Ironhide. No, it's another guy.
Ironside?
Yeah,
It's Ironhide.
Ironhide. The guy who's the helicopter. One of them's a helicopter.
Helicopter man.
Yeah, Ironhide thing is a big old truck, but I can't remember who. Big old truck. I was like, dude, would you rather be a jet or a helicopter?
Jet.
Fucking.
Dude, when he's fighting those like fighter jets, and he's like, and then turning really quick back into a jet to like hide. That was probably my favorite action sequence. That was really cool.
Yeah, he's sick.
He's Starscream.
So what?
Starscream. Megatron. Optimus has the star. I'm Bobby.
Okay,
and I'm Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Shia LaBeouf. He has that panic look.
Sam Whitaker.
Witwicky. They made that easy to say.
Yeah, I know. And one of the characters was fucking it up.
Witwicky.
Before we move on to Transformers, what Transformers movies have you guys seen?
Did you mean before we move on to Disturbia?
I had
Got you.
I don't know, man. I mean, I definitely saw this Transformers when it came out. I probably saw a sequel or two, but also I feel like I don't know, somewhere in there I kind of knew that they had gotten worse.
Yeah.
I must have seen the second one because we all liked the first one so much.
I feel like second one was
what happens.
So second one they'd find like more primes or like more of his guys, like Optimus Prime. That's like his family, and they get their help, something like that. But I remember the second one.
Megatron comes from the ocean.
Of course he does.
Right?
He gets. I think the second one or the third one, I might be mistaken. There's an evil guy that gets in control of the Decepticons as a human and starts to work together. And then there's a new love interest. It's either the third or second one, but they're both like pretty linear. Yeah. They're almost identical.
I saw him up till the Mark Wahlberg one, and that was the last one.
That's 4 or 5. Right?
I think I just found a Transformer. Like that's probably
Yeah, that's interesting too. Like I think Shia LaBeouf's exit for the franchise is also like a kind of messy one, wasn't it?
He was just not in it anymore.
Yeah, he just kind of was like again probably talking smack on him.
The Mark Wahlberg one is like a soft reboot or whatever,
right?
Like kind of.
I think that's the third one is Mark Wahlberg.
Fourth one,
and then it is.
Yeah, not to be.
I think they give Shia a trilogy.
Interesting.
Yeah. Dark of the Moon was his last one, which is the third.
Okay. Oh, it is.
Yeah,
okay.
Dark Side or whatever.
I think it's just Dark of the Moon.
I think it's Dark of the Moon, and that one was like it was. I thought the second one. Shit. The third one I didn't love, but I thought it was a bit better than the second one. But at that point, I was like, I already had to watch the fucking second one.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I can't remember the second one for the life from me.
I mean, dude, and
the flame sword. That's the coolest part about the second one.
Oh, Optimus with the sword.
His fight scenes are cool in that one. That is cool.
Yeah, it seems like the future ones, like I know Optimus Prime is like conflicted about killing in this one, even like the Decepticons or whatever. This is.
You got it.
Like I'm trying, man. I think like in the future ones, because I've seen some of the clips on Twitter and stuff. Like he really just becomes a killing machine.
Yeah, he's
like
a
they're
monster.
just like whatever the fuck. Like Optimus Prime is the coolest dude. He doesn't care about nobility or like they let his virtues kind of drop aside so you can become an action. An action figure in these films,
he becomes so badass. And my history of like the ones that are past 2 and 3, and coming up to present day, I watched all 3 of them in a sitting. I was super, super ill, and I was on the couch, sick as a dog, chugging NyQuil, and smoking weed. And I was sitting there bundled up like this. And I was like, it would end. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. What happens next? Just go to the next movie, and they're just crazy. They are nuts. So wild. There's one where Optimus Prime gets tricked by their creator, and Optimus Prime is the strongest Prime. He's like the perfect Transformer, effectively.
Right.
And he goes, "Oh, now you're gonna go kill everyone else." He goes, "You're right," and then goes to Earth and starts fucking shit up. And then the one before that, The Last Night, turns on Optimus and stuff. But then they started releasing like dinosaurs in the very last one, right before The Rise of the Beast. And I was like, all right, this is basically they're just throwing anything at it now. So it's really interesting to see that like that steep uphill that they're trying to go up towards, right? Because you can only add so much cool stuff. You know, you can't give all these ideas.
Well, I think that's the thing. Is like, I think this first one's already a bit over bloated with quote unquote cool stuff, where exactly it just starts to lose its impact. Right. I think you were in the perfect mental state to watch these films because you could daze in and out effectively. You're not missing anything story beat. Like the only thing that is important in these films is what is happening right now, right? They still have a lot of energy because of all the action and because, you know, they just know. Keep blowing shit up, keeping people interested. But it does hit a ceiling, like where you're like, yeah, I could go do something else in my day.
And I'm curious on what this new one's going to be. Honestly,
I hope for them that, you know, they could do something fine, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's not a franchise I've ever cared about too deeply.
Their source material's awesome.
That's what's interesting is
like they have great source material.
This is an era where someone like me could get, not someone like me. I'm a fucking nerd. Like I fucking love lore. Don't get me wrong, but like Transformers never hit that itch for me. I never watched it as a kid. And so when I went into this film, they kind of treat all the lore as like, it's there, but it's not like the most relevant thing. Whereas like in a lot of like franchise movies, they're like, oh, we're talking about this thing in his backstory, and like they really push it front and center, and the lore just kind of is not the most important thing. And it's just like
they're just
I like that they're irreverent towards it because it makes it accessible to like a general audience. But then the nerds that know, oh, the Allspark, that's like they have that in the back of their head. They can still enjoy it to that level, but you don't have to force everyone else to just go through all this fucking lore. I mean, I think of the new Star Wars.
They knew what they were doing, and they made money off of it, and it's a fun movie to watch. You know,
it will be interesting to see how the new one performs.
Let's go watch it.
Day one?
I don't know.
3D. Let's watch some 3D.
Oh, man, I'm going to throw up.
Let's do 4DX.
Oh, dude.
Just seats that rock.
This is awesome. Dude.
Holy shit.
Yep. That would not be pleasant. Yeah, I love the Transformers movies. You know, as goofy and weird as they are.
They're right.
They're fun. It's just it scratches my itch. I love big shit fighting. I'm an itchy boy for that type of stuff. I got clinical dandruff for fighting.
Oh,
yeah, I just took a couple notes. I always, anytime I'm watching one of these films and I see something that strikes me as like quintessentially 2007, I have to make a note of it. Nice. There's a part where like a government agent is, you know, they've recorded a Decepticon's voice. They're trying to like decode it, and she basically makes a copy of the voice and then goes to bring it to her tech friend.
I know.
And she pulls out of the computer a 2 gigabyte SD drive. Like, and you're like, she's working at a government facility. Like, it is like the most like, you know, like top secret, right? Like, you know,
2 gigs.
No budget spared, 2 gigs. And also, that was probably right for this era.
Yeah.
Like a 2 gigabyte SD card was probably like the cheap one, like if a 32 or 64 today. But like
they just didn't have the data.
Dude, I mean, and like a 64 or 128 gigabyte SD card would be a couple $100 back then.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can get a terabyte or 2 terabytes on a micro SD card. Like it is fucked up, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then Sam is wearing a Strokes t-shirt for like the middle part of this movie.
Yep.
Nice.
Classic 07. Love
Xbox
the Strokes.
360 in the Mountain Dew product placement. Super.
Dude, yeah.
Super 07.
That was the thing I liked about this Allspark kind of like concept, is that this cube could turn other technology
like
into the robots, especially because the robots were, the tech that humans have was based off of the robots too. So it all works in this circular way. But the Mountain Dew product placement
turns them into like
it's a drink machine, a Mountain Dew drink machine.
And he shoots, and then it turns into an arm cannon that shoots Mountain Dew cans.
Yes,
like that's fucking
a great
cool.
visual.
That was cool.
It's like, oh my god, now I have a great refreshment.
Oh no, please, sir. Not the Baja Blast.
Not me.
I mean, I don't want a Baja Blast can shooting at me, fucking however the fuck fast.
Dude, then you just go.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Thanks, Decepticon.
Thanks. Tastes like shit. It just blows up on you. It's like, what do you expect? The dude moved and then shot a can at you. Of course it's gonna explode in your face. Another thing, one of the cop cars, which is played by a Decepticon, or the car is played by a Decepticon. Yes,
yeah. Well, everyone knows him.
Yeah. But it's in an early scene before the Autobots and Decepticons have revealed themselves. And the Decepticon is dressing up essentially as a cop car chasing after Sam, which is a really fun turn. It kind of reminds me of Terminator 2, where they're like, okay, this evil cold robot is impersonating the evil cold authority figure.
Yeah, totally.
And even on the side of the car, it says to punish and enslave in like cursive, and you're like, damn, Michael Bay, you are a real one for that. Ugh. Let's see. I think that's and then there's another throwaway line about a Taco Bell dog.
Yes,
because Sam's got a Chihuahua. Yeah. The Taco Bell in this era had a whole ad campaign for probably 5-10 years where they had the Taco Bell Chihuahua. He would talk in commercials.
Oh, that's right.
And he was the mascot of the company. And now he's nowhere to be seen. Like I forgot that he ever existed until he was brought up.
I forgot that too.
Right?
Holy shit.
07, baby. Just have to bring everyone back.
Yeah.
Cultural awareness of this time.
07 is wild. A wild year.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I do like that there's a cool thing with the cube. The cube is being held in the Hoover Dam, which is like a kind of fun idea. They're like, it emits so much energy. They needed to build it around a dam so that no aliens and no humans would be able to like identify the source of power, which is like just the type of thinking you almost never get in a film like this. It's a secret government like facilities. Sure, we all know that, but how they keep it a secret was actually thought out. And you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm just shocked that Michael Bay didn't have Megatron bust the fuck out of that dam.
Oh, seriously? Dude, because
he
just kind of flies around it.
It really feels like they kind of set that up when you get there and you're like, oh, that dam's gonna break,
right?
Or something.
Michael Bay probably looked at it and said, could I?
He's like, it's gonna be another $10 million to do it.
Probably.
He goes, man.
Maybe they go back in a sequel or something.
I do know he asked someone too. He's like, "What do you think? Do you think we could do it?" Like,
Yeah,
theoretically,
I think
and
he
they're
asked
like,
him.
bro." It's like it's a dam.
It's a real dam.
Yeah.
He wanted to blow up the real thing.
Yeah. Okay, what if we put like a big net that like
it caught all the water. What if we built like a second dam?
Yeah.
So that the dam stopped, the water stopped when it hit the second dam. We blow up the first one, the old one,
Michael,
the shitty one.
they're waiting on set. We need to shoot.
There's no cars passing over the bridge right now. Like we gotta go, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Final thoughts on Transformers? Do you guys?
Good time.
It's a pretty good time.
It's a good time. I've always had an affinity for them personally. So
I think it held up in retrospect. Brandt, we were talking about something before it started, which is just the look of this.
Yeah,
thing.
it does look pretty sweet.
Because it is shot on film still.
Oh.
And so like all the reality moments, with Shia LaBeouf and stuff, like they really feel grounded.
Yeah.
Because the lighting, man, it really smashed.
Those dark when Bumblebee is standing up and when he's doing that first kind of radio talk where he's like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "I'm from the stars." And that it's just so dark. I don't like that.
No,
so
but it gives this contrast almost
so cool.
because you have these fully CGI inventions.
blend
Contrasted
in
with
well
like the
with
real
it.
world explosions, and it the alienness of them being CGI works in the film's favor in that way.
I think it helps it not feel dated. Like I feel like it keeps it looking like a lot of blockbusters today, or at least it feels like it's in line with those. Like I don't know,
easily. If not also
not
just
better.
like That's what I'm thinking. Because like a lot of the early shots reminded me of Top Gun.
Yeah,
like
you're
just like you're getting these beautiful sunsets and these military bases and stuff, and you're just like, oh yeah, this has a quality to it that you don't feel like movies have today.
I hate to say like it's just cinematic, but kind of like it just looks like fucking.
Well, it's that filmic look with the grain, because it kind of just brings everything down a bit. Like when you shoot on digital and you have like a white flare coming in, it kind of flares off within the digital compression because white is a value that is only white essentially, but like on the way a piece of film takes in the information is like you'll just get more nuance off of that white essentially, and so it just makes the contrast of the image a lot better. It's why like you see a lot of like digital films today. Like right now, people are talking shit on The Little Mermaid that comes out this summer because it looks too dark, is what they say. There's still color around. It's just that there's not enough contrast going on within the actual picture.
Sure.
And when you had the light for film, you just had to be a little more specific and cautious towards these things. Whereas now, lighting is just a very bland thing. Just bring in a basic fill, and we'll just kind of like let that one light wash over everything. It just kind of flattens the image. Is really it. And it makes a film like this that, 15 years ago, we weren't saying looked insane or looked incredible. Maybe even people didn't love the look of it too much, but like now you look at it and you're like, man, like we got to go back.
It just feels, or I don't know, like important or like it's, I don't know.
It has a good natural look to it.
Well, it's very fantasy-esque too. I mean, like there's like Shia LaBeouf looks orange in some of these scenes, like straight orange, him and Megan Fox because of the lighting, but like just works because the darkness behind them, the blues, like it's a very, it has its own aesthetic is what I would say, rather than like looking naturalistic.
It looks like a Transformers movie.
Yeah. Transformers.
I think you're right.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. It's a good like way of viewing it as an aged piece of art.
Yeah.
Just like how we're looking at all of these films.
You boys
feeling disturbed.
I think we go into Disturbia. Yeah, we'll take a short break for the viewers, but we'll probably just go right into it.
Okay.
We'll see you in a sec. Welcome back, everybody.
Nice.
This is Cinema Span. Cinema Span.
Cinema Span.
Cinnamon spam.
Cinnamon sand.
Cinnamon stand.
Centennial strand.
I'm a cinnamon man.
Sinner.
I'm a Cinema Span man.
What do you mean, sinner?
I don't know.
I've never sinned, and you can put that on record.
You just talked about like 9 sins.
No.
Early talked about Transformers.
I was not doing none of that, man.
Right.
Where are the real sinners at in the house?
Yeah, real sin. Stand up.
All right, y'all. So we got Disturbia here. This one is directed by DJ Caruso, who this is like his biggest film. Gonna be honest, cannot tell you what his other films are off the top of my head. I'm using my phone to record right now. So.
I can bring it up if you want.
If you want, there are not really huge ones. Maybe you've seen one, but there are a lot of like direct-to-video movies. This is kind of his biggest flick, though. Disturbia is basically about this kid played by Shia LaBeouf. His name is Kale. And essentially, he is put on house arrest pretty early on in the film. His dad dies at the actual beginning of the film. Then he punches out a teacher because he's kind of still working through it. And he's put on house arrest for 3 months because, in lieu of going to juvie. And
he had some priors too.
He had some priors.
So this wasn't his first.
Exactly. And so
nice.
It just kind of it reframes him to then have to spend all this time in his house looking at his neighbors, and he essentially sees his neighbor maybe committing a murder, and he starts to investigate it. This is all an homage, a very direct homage to Hitchcock's Rear Window, which is about a guy who breaks his leg and is forced to. He's a journalist, and he usually like goes adventuring into the world, like National Geographic stuff. He's in wars, like he's always like used to a lot of action, and all of a sudden he's put in one room, he can't leave, and all he has is like this window to kind of look out at his neighbors. And what Hitchcock's film does really well, for anyone that doesn't know, is it plays on voyeurism. So you as an audience member are watching, right? So you're almost put into the shoes of this guy who's watching. And so as he starts to like observe things that, you know, are a little perverse or maybe like would be inappropriate for you to see, it puts into the question, what are you doing as a viewer here? And unfortunately, I don't think this movie has as much nuance or wants to play with those themes as hard. But it does take that at least as the launch point for the story.
Interesting.
And it's kind of a modern retelling of it.
The beginning too is like, I mean, I've never seen the movie, so it was my first time watching
The
it.
beginning is so fucked up.
I was like, whoa.
Well, it is the craziest 180 because it starts with Shia LaBeouf and his dad like fly fishing, right?
Yeah, having a great dad moment.
Great, and it is like, it feels like a Hallmark movie.
I was just gonna say
like
Hallmark.
They're playing up the cheese, you know, got the mountainscape behind them. Oh man, I couldn't get that one. That's fine, son.
Yeah,
you don't get them all,
son. Yeah.
you know. And then they're on the drive back talking to mom. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna buy a fish again?" Like, you know, all that classic kind of banter. When are you gonna be back?
No, mom. Here, you talk to him. You talk to him.
And like this car pulls out in front of them, like real fast.
He pulls off, and there's a car parked.
He overtakes them, and then they're just following him, and then he pulls out to not hit a parked car, and they don't see it because, you know, it's this huge car in front of them, and then they just but it is a horrific car crash, like Mad Max level of violence, and it goes from perfect Hallmark to the most brutal violence, and it is too much of a whiplash for me, like for these two to exist in the same universe. You know, I get what they're trying to do here, but it's shocking for the sake of being shocking.
Yeah,
and it's like, dude, it's so violent.
It's
like,
crazy. And then like they could have just done that where they crash. It's like, oh my god, that was a horrible crash. But he's not even just that. He's like, Dad, he's like, Shia, are you okay? And he's like, oh, Dad. And you see the
second car.
Like, oh, fuck. That was
So what's interesting is my girlfriend actually brought up a really good point about that scene. Right after this scene, Shia LaBeouf gets out of the car and goes over to the side. I'm like, no, don't go over there. Dude, your dad's toothpaste. Don't go over there. And he looks, and it's just a still shot of his face. And my girlfriend's like, I've always liked this scene because you don't need to show the mutilation or the car crash.
Yes.
And like just Shia LaBeouf's like emotional
his expression,
and it's just that's all you need. Just one still pan. Because, you know, you already showed the brutality.
It's 10 times stronger. Whatever image you have in your head of what that scene looks like, right? And on top of it, we're here, you know, we're in the protagonist's shoes, right? We need to see how this is hitting him.
Right.
I will say, I thought that shot lingered for like a second or two too long.
Probably.
But I agree. As a storytelling principle, that is the right way to go about it.
It was interesting that she caught that. I was like, oh, there you go. All right, so DJ Caruso actually made a lot of movies.
Lewis, you left out some bangers. I Am Number 4, Eagle Eye. One of the
I don't know, guys.
One of the Triple X movies.
Yeah, okay, Triple X I've heard is good.
Yeah, this is the...
Actually, it's the shitty one.
Yeah, it's the worst one. It's number 3.
I haven't seen any of them, so
I haven't either.
I don't know.
But that's just from what I know.
It's a Vin Diesel, right? As a Xavier, whatever.
Yeah, Xander
Cage.
Well, so the second one has Ice Cube in it. And that one's like decent. I think the second one has Ice Cube.
I like Ice Cube.
And then the third one is this one. This is made in 2017. It's a little off the boat for a Triple X movie to come out. I Am Number 4. You haven't seen that? Oh, dude, it's a stinky one. It's a real stinker. 2 for the Money, like random ass shit. The Salton Sea.
That's what I'm saying. These are
a G.I. Joe movie. We were just talking about a G.I. Joe movie.
This is the epitome of a phrase I love, which is called a movie that does not exist. Right? Like these, like unless you bring up one of those titles, I could not tell you what that.
Do you know if he's the director of all these, or is it maybe does he just work on these?
I don't know.
He might have. Maybe some of these he didn't direct. Yeah. Maybe I don't know. But
I just googled.
Yeah, on IMDb or something.
I'm just on straight up Google.
But he worked on these movies at least.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. Google sometimes will throw in your writing credits and your directing together.
I did see something kind of interesting when I was looking up Disturbia. It's an adaptation from Rear Window, and it credits Rear Window and on the Google.
Yeah, that's what I already said all that.
Yeah, thought you were just you saying it's an homage, like they took the
direct homage.
I see. Okay.
We thought you were full shit. Now we believe you.
I'm mean, just kidding. Yeah, if it's an official adaptation, fair. They may have paid
Yeah, that's what
Hitchcock.
I
like
kinda
that makes
thought
that's a difference.
Well, they put
kind
it
of
in,
thought
that's
it
what's interesting.
was, but I don't know.
Yeah, because like there's other movies that are homages, like Body Double. I showed Brandt a little bit of Body Double, but that's Brian De Palma kind of in the 80s taking a lot of Hitchcock's ideas and going a lot further with it and a lot dirtier. Essentially, like Hitchcock was a pretty perverted guy himself and wasn't fully allowed to go there, and so De Palma kind of heightened it a bit in a really fun way. Would recommend that for anyone that is interested in this genre of films. Yeah, it's really funny though because this is kind of a quarantine story before quarantine, right? Because he gets put on house arrest, and the lady that's putting him in, setting up all of his stuff is essentially like, look, you got to do something protective. It doesn't seem like it, but some people start going loopy after 1 or 2 days, and you're just like, man, you're like
tell me.
Then he just speed runs through it. He's like, all right, gonna watch a million movies. I'm gonna play video games. I'm gonna eat junk food. And then he just hits rock bottom real fast.
Yep.
And then he gets so bored. He's like, okay, what else can I be looking at?
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that even in the beginning of the film with his dad, they make a comment like, man, you work from home. It doesn't get much better than that. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's right. That's right.
That's a good callback. Nice.
Yeah, you're a writer.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah. He's like, well, not really. It's funny. It's just you just don't know how things are gonna age in that way, you know. And I was thinking about it when the cop said that too. I was like, oh man, because she literally verbatim said what you said, and it's very interesting to think about. But also, it's funny how involved Shia LaBeouf gets, and you know what? In the beginning of the film, I don't really like his character. I feel bad for him, but I didn't love his character. I was like, okay, yeah, you're like a bad teenage kid that doesn't really give a shit.
Right.
But dude, are we talking about 2007 throwbacks and nostalgia when he's playing Xbox? And he has the fucking mic with the 3-jack instead of a audio port, and has it corded and it's on his head, and he has the original Xbox 360 online shit popping up, and I was like, holy shit, dude!
Brought you back?
Brought me back.
The sounds,
because the audio jack. I remember I was like, dude, I can't use these headphones for anything. Yep. And it's such the worst design possible, But it was just how it was back in the day.
Voice chat was just hitting the market. I mean,
true.
like even Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, those were really just getting off the ground. So
yeah.
Barely any games had multiplayer.
I love their recreated Xbox menu because sure they never ever have a thing that says access denied.
Yeah, it's orange.
Oh, yeah. When they kind of put that, his mom put in maybe a password.
Well, it's so funny. It's his mom cancels his Xbox and his iTunes is what they say, and he's typing in his iTunes password and it's not working. He's like, huh? It's such a funny representation of tech because nowadays you could cancel someone's iTunes by canceling their Apple Music subscription, right? That is a thing. But back then, you were just buying actual songs. He can't listen to the songs that he owns.
Right.
That's nuts. And there is a funny scene too where his girlfriend, before she's his girlfriend, is holding his iPod over the ledge of the balcony.
That's 60 gigs of my life.
It's so funny. So funny.
It is good. And honestly, I watched the movie just last night, and I actually kind of liked it. I thought it was actually pretty good.
I think it's solid.
It's solid.
Think it totally is.
It's funny. I think both of these films hit 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I would say so.
They're just solid films. Nothing really wrong there, but I just think there's something to be desired with this one, especially unfortunately. If I have seen Hitchcock's classic Rear Window.
Right.
It's one of the best films of all time. It's just tough to hit that same level of mark, right? And it's good for what it is, though. Don't get me wrong.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have that frame of reference, so I came in here blind. Something that really won me over was the writing. I thought the writing was really, really good, honestly. It was very creative. It felt very human, and it had good emotional elements to it. And all throughout the movie, the writing is really, really good. There's a scene in specific that I can keep remembering is when he first gets to meet Ashley, the girl.
Right.
And he's reaching for the mail. Oh, I can't get and she's like, what are you doing? You know, and like gives
which is a ruse he's set up,
of course,
too, right?
Yeah.
Like he can reach the mailbox.
Of course,
he's waiting for her to get home and then positioning himself perfectly.
It's nice and creative too. Like they have a lot of creative, cool things, and like the borders looking like very like homemade because he's doing it himself.
And he goes back to it to pick up the things as his like final weapon. Right?
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Stays there the whole movie.
The border around his house so that he doesn't leave the area for house arrest.
Yeah, and I love like the nuance in the beginning. It's like, oh yeah, you know, if you leave for 10 seconds, then it goes off.
That's a great setup.
I was like,
yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so he's trying to get the mail, right? She comes up and she's like, oh, let me help you. Gives it to him, and he's just throwing game at her, you know, blah blah blah. And like you could definitely see like there's some rides, but he doesn't know who she is, and she's like sitting there. Then the mom goes, Ashley, can you come in here, sweetheart, please? And she's like, all right, Mom. And she goes, oh, that's my mom. She's really polite and sweet and always says please, but did you notice the tone? He goes, oh, I noticed the tone. I know that one. And she goes, and I'm Ashley, by the way. And she walks away and he goes, I noticed that too. Ooh, shit. I was like, that's good writing because, you know, the mom said Ashley in the beginning. It's just like small little stuff like that.
There's another notice line where, you know, she finds out he's been spying on her. She's like, you know, watch everything I do. What did you notice about me? And he's like, well, and then he actually flips it into like, I noticed that, you know, you spend more time on your roof than in your actual house. Or like, and you know, and he's like, and you like books.
But not the normal books, you know?
That's what I'm saying. That's like...
You're not watching Sports Illustrated.
A little...
Moved from the city into the suburbs, forcefully relocated.
Yeah. Such a great... And I love, this girl she's a beautiful woman, obviously, in the film and just in general, but she is so stereotypical early 2000s attractive. Like, super, super skinny, blonde, blue eyes, you know? And, like, her in her bikini, she has, like... But, like, now it's like, oh, like, the beauty concept is way different. You know, everyone's welcome, of course, but like ass is like it is. Everyone's welcome to be perceived as beautiful.
Well, hell yeah.
But now like the beauty standard is not like
the thousands is like the first time that like curves was like allowed to even start existing.
Straight up.
Yeah, it takes a while for everything else to catch up, right?
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting because like, you know, they casted her and like maybe she wasn't even a good actor, but she's like, you fit the mold, you know, so we need you in this film. But yeah,
I mean, it's not a super demanding part. She doesn't really have any super emotional scenes.
She just is
it's
really
very much
cool.
Just girl next door. Yeah. Like I don't want to say she only got it for her looks because she just played the part.
Yeah,
like
she does
well. But again, it's a very thankless role. I think just goes to show like this and like Megan Fox's roles in Transformers, you're like, okay, we're at a point where we're going to acknowledge that women are more than just pretty faces, but we're not going to actually like give them the characters to back that up or the substance. Like whole thing with Megan Fox's character is like, oh, she's a gearhead, and you would have never expected that in Transformers, right? And he's like, oh man, a hot chick who likes cars too. Oh man, I hit the jackpot.
That'll make your head spin.
Exactly, but.
Well, that's the same thing that they said in Disturbia. She's like, oh, you guys got video games? Cool. I play those.
Oh, let's order pizza for dinner.
Oh, she's pizza like us and not salads? Yeah. The best chick ever. It was so funny. I was cracking up laughing. You know?
That's to me where I'm just like, it kind of tops off on a certain level of quality, right? It just feels it's a bit cliched, and you're like, okay,
but it's time period correct, you know, and it has its charm, you know.
Well, I mean, dude, even like there's a whole thing with ringtones in this where she changes his ringtone to me so horny,
me so horny,
and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what that humor was like. Isn't it funny that I have a song on my phone as a ringtone? Like. Before it just became the most obnoxious thing to have any sound coming out of your phone. Like we all just understand now. No sounds from the phone when you're in public.
Keep that shit on vibrate.
Yeah, bro. What the fuck are you doing?
Oh man, it is a very interesting thought. I remember one of my first like ringtones on my phone. I went to a girl and I was like, "Wait, you have music on your phone?" She goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Can you like give it to me somehow?" She's like, "Yeah," and she like sent it to me. And like I would clip like a part of a song and has a ringtone, I would play it and like listen to it. God, it's so bad, dude. It's so bad. But I like how it's funny to look back on those little things. You know?
There was something in this film that I thought was a bit of a missed opportunity, which is early on they show that Shia LaBeouf's character, he goes into his dad's office and it's still untouched, which is like a really great story beat. Like we've all seen that in a film where like the kid dies and the parents keep the room the same, and the room itself becomes like a metaphor for that trauma in addressing it. And I thought they were going to go somewhere further with all of that. Like maybe like bring it in, like him.
I forgot about it until you just brought it up.
That's what I was saying too. I had a note where I was like, oh, I was like, this is good. Like, right. There's a setup here. And I just kind of realized there wasn't a payoff for that.
Maybe they deleted something.
Maybe
it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, if Shia LaBeouf came into there and like held up a picture of his dad and like, what would you have done or something, like one liner, and it would just make you emphasize again. And I think it kind of loses that in the beginning because you like feel really bad for Shia LaBeouf, but then he's like a shitty teenager,
right, which is fully understandable, right? Like we all understand he's gonna be a shitty kid, but
it's nice to ground it for a second, like emotionally,
It's just like because the killer kind of comes into his house at the end. It's like, I don't know, maybe there's like
something, right?
Like a fishing knife that he gave him in the first scene, and now it's sitting on the desk in the office, and he looks at it again and it reminds you of the first scene. And then at the end of the film, he picks up that knife and he stabs the guy with it, right? Or it's the thing that's able to cut him loose of something else. Like just really fucking basic shit here. But like it feels like they could have threaded in something.
Was the mom the girl from The Matrix?
Yeah. Wow, she looks like her. I don't know if that is her.
I think you might be right.
I think you are.
I didn't even. Oh man, I've only seen the first Matrix once, so I'm like,
oh really?
Yeah, I just caught it.
It so is, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, because she plays a great role as a mom.
She does good. The mom's like a bit underserved as well. In this,
as far as the character goes.
Yeah, I mean, the time she's in it is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Ronnie. I really like him as a best friend.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's got a fun.
He's been in a couple other movies.
I know.
Too. He's been Tokyo Drift, I believe.
He's got that role. He's like, I hate saying best friend role, but he's definitely that and a couple other things that I've always
the goofy wacky best friend.
I've liked him in a lot.
I thought the supporting staff was pretty good. Like the killer. What did you guys think about the killer?
Killer's pretty good. He's playing like I think he really threads the needle pretty well because you're not sure if he's just like creepy neighbor or if he's actually a killer. And he's like, I just like my privacy. Like there's a lot of things that he sells well enough.
Right.
I do think by the end though, he just kind of becomes like a Flanderization of himself. Just you're just like whatever. Like he's a little silly.
Because it kind of like leans in and goes, really? Like he didn't kill the mom. He actually just tied up the mom and like put her here.
Right.
And now he's like fucking with him even more,
And that's the whole thing. So he is the serial killer and he's been hiding bodies in the walls of his house is what it's found out to be. But while the kids are investigating, there's this blue bag full of guts and it's from a deer. It's one of those classic red flag or what do you call it?
It's like switcher or like a gotcha.
Bait and switch,
bait and
classic
switch.
bait and switch. But and this film has a couple of those, like Ronnie, the roommate. He goes to investigate this blue bag and he gets lost in the house, and Shyla has to come and find him, and then he's gone, and so you just presume he's kidnapped. And the camcorder that he was holding turns back on, which has a live feed to the house, and all of a sudden, Shia LaBeouf's like, "Oh my God, he's dead!" But he's just being dead in the closet.
Yeah, I remember the Twinkie Tower.
The bait and switch becomes a little much for me at the end. I think they ruin their own tension, because that fake death happens, and then 2 seconds later, the killer is like in the house with like a bat, like swinging at him.
That's another gotcha.
And you're just
bitch.
like, you're like, what? You're like, he just got away with this. Like. Shia LaBeouf's character is going to jail tomorrow. Like all he has to do is ride this out and he would be fine. But here he is trying to kill him. It's just like the plot machinations at the end kind of fall apart. But or motivations and what was this dude thinking? But it's all to serve just kind of the flashy ending, really. But it's it's fun. It's I think like the scenes where they're exploring the house are really creepy and really cool. especially when you're seeing it through the camcorder. That's like one of my favorite things. Is when you have this old school tech. And you almost have like the shitty HD camcorder on a tube TV behind you, but then you're shooting it with a film camera, so it's like in full resolution. Cool. But you're still limited by what that tech was able to see. Yeah, and there's some parts where like that takes up the whole frame, so that's the only thing you're really looking at. But that's something you kind of lose today with like iPhones being really good. Is that like a video from an iPhone is just gonna look indiscernible from something else, or if I put something on TV, it's going to look normal.
Even a Ring doorbell has a nice camera, you know?
Right.
Their little surveillance camera that they use, it's like, it's like green, like the whole, it's like 1 pixel, it's green, and then it's just all pixelated and stuff. I do have to say, in that scene where Ronnie's dead, you know, I think that's a great scene for Shia LaBeouf. It shows his...
he plays it really well.
Charity, I do want his weapon. Like pushes him off, and he goes, whoa, man, like, I'm sorry. Goes,
maybe it was a bad prank.
Yeah. Maybe I'm not so funny after all. And it's really good. I'm like, that's where like I started to really think about Shia LaBeouf as an actor. I'm like, man, he's there. Like he like when he's on set, I'm sure he's bringing it. You know, so you can feel that in a lot of his films, in my opinion. Just the stuff I've seen.
I agree. I think that's the most baffling thing about him is he seems like a guy who, for all accounts, could have been a huge movie star. He had the talent. He had the runway there, and then he kind of fumbled the bag. I think so.
He's definitely a huge movie star.
Comparatively, but the way that like Tom Cruise is a movie star, like no one else is a movie star at that magnitude, like a Leo, or something like that, where it's like if Shia LaBeouf attached himself to a script, he could just get it made, right? It feels like he's gonna, he could get something made, but he's kind of got to be a part of a team, right? Like someone else is gonna be putting him up. He's in Megapolis coming up this year. It's Francis Ford Coppola's supposedly final film. Coppola directed the Godfather trilogy, Apocalypse Now, tons of films. He's a really super acclaimed director. But this was kind of his passion project for the last 10, 15 years. He's been trying to get it made for a really long time. Shia LaBeouf is in it.
Wow.
But it's about, I think it's about two like politicians in New York or something arguing about like the future of the city. It's like and then I don't know, it's got all these like Greek chorus elements in it. Looks fucking weird, but like maybe really cool.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
You had my interest, now you have my attention.
I just worth bringing it up. You're right. He's not fully down and out. I mean, Adam Driver is the star of this film. Like there's a lot of really big names attached to it. So I think he could play an asshole almost better than like a lot of people today too. Like he can still be charming enough that you feel for him as a character, but the lines that he lashes out, like he doesn't lose you on them, right?
Yeah, it's true. You gotta watch Tax Collector, dude. To see, I'm just thinking about it. Like he could be an asshole really well. I was thinking about Tax Collector, and I was like, yeah, probably. He's like super, like interesting.
Brandt, did you see Fury?
I did see Fury. I watched that at our house.
Can you riff on that real quick?
Man, it's World War II. It's like a group of army dudes that are like
Brad Pitt,
Pitt, Shia LaBeouf, Logan Lerman. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Fucking the Punisher guy. What's that other guy's name?
I know him. Yeah.
Cool. People know him. Yeah, but they're a squad. They work in a tank and they're on their own for a second and they get caught and like they're like, oh fuck, our only route that we can take happens to be a whole German army is coming this way.
Oh wow.
And they have to fight a whole army in their one tank. And it's a good time. Cool. And Shia LaBeouf plays a piece of shit in that.
Well, that's David Ayer, who did Tax
from what I remember.
Well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Interesting. I haven't seen Fury, but I get, because Brad Pitt's in it, I get it confused with Inglourious Bastards.
For sure.
Right. Well, World War II. And
he has the same hair.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm like, wait, I've seen it. No, I haven't. But I would be down to watch
it. It's definitely good. It's a fun film. What I remember, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, well, Shia LaBeouf has been around like big stars, his biggest movie is arguably Transformers.
Right?
Yeah, that or Indiana Jones in the Crystal Skull. I mean, I'm sure. I feel like Transformers probably made more money.
Well, it's like in the when you look back, people think of Transformers, but at the time, that was probably seen as.
I mean, that was a huge movie.
Like metrics-wise.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that was him breaking into the scene. But that's what I'm saying too. Is it's like. That's where he started, right? Like his career could have kept going up as far as like the size of these films and the size of his star status, but it seems like went for more of the mid movies and stuff like that, which is fine. Like Daniel Radcliffe has made an incredible career out of becoming super popular in Harry Potter and then just picking roles that he likes, or Elijah Wood, similar, played Frodo in Lord of the Rings and. Just kind of he produces like horror movies now and like shows up in like the things that he likes and like
nice, good for them.
A little niche for himself,
The dream, they say.
That's the dream.
Really? Yeah. No. To be a working actor, but not to be too beholden to commercial like satisfactions. Like, come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah. You still have your like artistic integrity a little bit to like do some stuff you really want to do.
Definitely.
Robert Pattinson's a good example as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Obviously, he's like, now he's Batman, but there's a lot of stuff.
But it took him a while to sign back up for a franchise. That's like he spent almost a better part of a decade, like distancing himself from that, and then coming before he came back. And
it's cool.
He even came back in the right way because, like, I mean, we all like the Twilight films. They're dumb fun, but he picked a project that had a little more artistic weight to it as well.
Yeah,
I would say.
How dare you?
Oh, how dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Starscream.
Pray to me.
Yeah. What? He's got a PSP in this.
Hell yeah, he does.
Hell yeah, he does. 07 things.
I saw it and I was like, "Is that a PCP?" I was like, "Wait, no, that's a drug." And I was like, "Oh, that's a PSP, PlayStation Portable."
I could feel when I was watching play. I could feel those buttons. Like I could just.
Insane, man. I had so many less hours on a PSP versus like a Nintendo DS. Sure. But like my sister had a PSP and like I did, pick that up and play it a bit myself.
It really didn't it didn't do bad, but it didn't do good enough to be prominent for a couple years. It was only like what 5 years.
It did not do well enough. It didn't have enough games for it, and I think Nintendo was just too fucking.
The DS was just a beast. You just couldn't
beat that.
Man,
but do you remember they used to have movies for the PSP?
Yeah, I do.
It was this little disc.
Oh
this big, because that's the disc at Red that you popped in there.
It was the same as the games.
Same game disc, yeah. But they would just put a whole ass movie on there, and you just
have a portable movie.
It's just insane.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's a different era. I feel like
Napoleon Dynamite and Superbad. Like I always saw those PSP movies. Like,
dude, Napoleon Dynamite.
That was probably the most.
Too, on PSP.
That had a game too.
It was actually kind of a banger.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're right though. It was a lot of Sony properties.
Go figure. Spider-Man was on there.
Vertical integration.
Interesting.
I had Terminator the movie on that. Fuck yeah.
That's sick.
It was sweet. Yeah.
It's so interesting to look back at those time periods for technology because that's where it's going to be most dated because technology has just been rapidly progressing so fast.
Well, especially like a window to like the idea of like what do people want or need or think they want to need and like what are we bringing to them? Because I've talked about like the internet right now being like the lamest version of the future,
right?
Where it's like
probably
like the internet could be really cool and designed really well, but the people that kind of are in charge of it are still like people that don't fully understand the tech and like the reasons why it can bring communities together, all those ideas, and so they just kind of end up copying one another. Oh, yeah, Instagram's got story or Snapchat's got stories, so Instagram has to have stories. And Twitter even tried stories for a little bit. You're just like, why does everything need to be like the other thing? Like, why? Yeah.
No, there's nothing technologically has been like breaking barriers in the last 10 years, I would say.
Yeah, a lot less innovation.
Like there's like VR. Yeah, I mean we've worked on it. Gaming, yes. I mean, nothing crazy.
Exactly, the tech's half there, but like the utilization's really not. So yeah, I mean VR. Yeah, it's a bit dead on the water.
Cars are starting to get more technically advanced as far as like a gaming standpoint. Like Kinect. You control it like this. Now in a BMW, you can go like this and like this and like that. To like skip, turn up, turn down.
Just wave your hand?
Wow.
Yeah, you just wave your hand.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And the new BMWs used to do this to like turn it up, and you just do that to turn it down.
That's actually not surprising. I mean, they were already using eye tracking tech to make sure that like if you were falling asleep, they would like jolt you back awake a little bit in those cars. That's a cool evolution actually.
The only big technology thing that's been happening is AI. Really, I guess is the only thing that's like.
Yeah, I mean, AI's been around forever too.
Now it's just part of the masses.
It's a branding thing right now with Chat GPT.
But just everything we're talking about has been written by Chat GPT. Everyone's scripted.
Yeah, not real.
That's why I keep looking down.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting my fucking lines, man. They wanted me to say that.
Whose line is it anyway? So, Lewis, tell me your favorite part about Disturbia. I'm curious. What was like your favorite thing?
I think like I was saying, the parts where they actually get to addressing the creepiness, and addressing the unknown, like that stuff with the camcorder when they're walking just into the house and your information's really limited. I thought all of that hit pretty hard. That's where like I was feeling the most tension, the idea that the killer could pop out from anywhere, or I'm going to see his horrific thing. But yeah, it just like, again, it kind of all fizzles out. It doesn't feel like this guy has a master plan or anything. It just feels like he was being sloppy and got caught by a kid.
Yeah. Which is true.
Yeah. His curtain's always just being kind of open when he's like, wouldn't you, if you kill people and that's your thing, would you not just shut that shit?
That's the problem with like this premise is like you have to like design these houses to be like visually open for him to be able to see anything. I mean, even the kids watching porn.
Yeah.
Like he's across the street. Like he's, he has to be able to see them watching that and see the mom on the other side of the door. Like this is not what houses look like. Yeah. And that's why Rear Window actually kind of works pretty well. It's because it's an apartment complex with kind of like a cube in the middle. And so everyone's backside of their houses are like facing each other, right? Oh, and so you really can just see into someone's living room from across or left or right. And there's flights of people, and they do address curtains being pulled at different points and not, and it actually feels lived in that way.
My favorite part is when Shia snitches on the kids watching porn.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
I do love
that.
And
he goes, but that's just act one,
Yeah.
He goes, I didn't say this verbatim. He's like, heresy in the neighborhood won't be, take it, I'm going to make sure they're paid their dues, because he has like a master plan of how to
because the kids put a flaming bag of dog poop in his front door.
Threw balloons at him and shit.
Prank, water balloons. Yeah.
Also,
I did like I did like the party.
I was gonna say the score.
When he had all these kids, all the kids at the neighborhood or at the house next to him, and it's just kind of like he's being left out. He knows he's being left out, and he's feeling like the isolation and jealousy. That's the type of stuff I wanted more of. Is like make him feel even more cooped up in there and see what he does. Like that's
really
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, because then that craziness is what makes him what makes his girlfriend kind of come in, or ex-girlfriend, not soon to be girlfriend. And they actually address like the spying because of that, right? Like
But she's like, he is really witted to be like, oh, I wasn't spying on you. I was just watching you and liking what you do, which is really cool.
Which is either the creepiest thing she's ever heard or the sweetest thing, is what she says.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I sorry to interject. I got really excited.
No. Yes.
The score.
I like the score too.
The score is so fucking cool. Like, it's a bunch of bands you'll never hear again, ever. It's not like the biggest songs in 07, but it's all like alternative, like punk rock.
Oh, yeah.
And like all these songs, like one or two, you're like, oh, I remember hearing that song. But unless you're like really into like alt rock, you'll know the bands.
Right.
But dude, they're so like, one is just like, Heartbreaker. It just says that the entire. I was like, what fucking song is this? Like, he's like
60 gigs of his life,
bro. Dude, he's just a teen, man.
Dude, just a teenage mutant turtle, dude.
That was another thing we didn't bring up about Transformers, was the soundtrack. Is like they both were hitting that alt rock thing. I mean, Transformers ends with Linkin Park Needle Drop.
This could have done the same thing.
Absolutely.
If they had a bigger budget,
man,
they probably would have.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They honestly picked the budget versions of the Transformer songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disturbia is in the Bayverse.
And it's interesting to watch those movies Shia LaBeouf looks a lot younger in Disturbia.
He does.
Transformers, like substantially younger.
Well, it's worth bringing up. The little bit of research I did. He had he started bulking for Transformers and Indiana Jones during the shoot of this film. So he ended up putting on 25 pounds of muscle, like kind of after this. But he still looks like he definitely looks like a kid in this. Yeah. That's the thing. He doesn't look that buffed out, but he just
not
looks
as
a little
skinny.
older, a little more cut.
Yeah, I'm like, man, the same year. I was like, I remember him looking a lot older in Transformers. So that makes a lot of sense. Like little gristle on the chin, a little extra muscle will put an extra age on.
Some wisdom in the eyes.
Well, sometimes
the glimmer.
Like you'll shoot a film and it won't come out for about a year,
Sure.
because of post production work and then timing for when you actually want it to release. And some indies, do take longer to come out too. So it probably makes sense that the timing worked out there. Year of practical effects work on Transformers, and they're just trying to secure funding and a distribution plan for this. Probably, I don't know if this is a Sundance film or anything like that.
Right, interesting. That makes sense. So and since we all went around, I would say my favorite part of the film was the writing. Honestly, I thought the writing was like pretty good, and it made me to think like, man, who was the writer in this, and what did they go on to make? Was it a nobody? Was it someone very notable? I just thought it was just like from a writing standpoint, and the flow of everything was like pretty good for this time period.
I thought like Ronnie and Shia's especially, their like back and forth sounded like that could have so easily sounded like it wasn't. Like it sounds like what maybe teens was
for sure, and it's not full of gags for humor. Yeah. It's full of wit, and like wit is like intelligence,
Exactly. There's cliches here, but that are implemented in a decent way, like where they don't feel overused. And storytelling cliches like are a thing you just need. It's a shorthand, You
have to. Not every audience member is going to be like us.
Absolutely.
Analyzing everything.
And that's the thing. This is a tight script. Keeps itself moving, like it never feels boring.
Right.
Whereas like to me, the last half hour of Transformers, I was kind of like, okay, like I get it. I kind of already seen 2 hours of action. Like let's wrap it up, Whereas this, I was, it's like a 90-minute movie, right?
Which made me think about, and I remember you put this perspective in my head is the timing of movies nowadays, as far as like how long they are, they're just only getting longer. It wasn't very common. Like we're generalizing as far as like any movie that comes out.
Yeah,
I mean, it was pretty common for an hour movie, hour 15, hour 20, hour and a half, maybe like back in the day, early 2000s. But like nowadays, most movies are going to 2 hour marks, and then people would opt for a limited series or an episodic show where you could show a lot more and have a lot more of a natural growth. So it's interesting that storytelling as far as a movie goes is just like...
It is interesting. Because there was a point where, multiplexes were popping up like crazy. And suddenly they had all these screens. And so they're just like, anyone who wants to make a movie, come and make a movie, because people want to come into the theaters and see these things, right? And there was even a point of time where, it's like, okay, the shorter the movie is, the more times we can play that film in one day. And that means the more tickets we could sell.
Interesting.
And so there was even like there was an industry reason to like keep things tight in that way. And I think just as like things started moving towards streaming a little bit, and it's like, it's going to be in theaters, sure. But like once it's on streaming, like who cares? And you're right, this appetite for like miniseries, it all plays together. It's all a part of the shifting tides. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting to think about. And like even like movie theaters in general. I'm not sure what the metrics look like about movie theaters nowadays. Has it gone back up?
They've recovered decently post pandemic. That's the thing. Like I was saying was the multiplexes really came to rise in like 99 to like about 08. Basically in 08 when the housing crisis and market crashes, it's just the bottom falls out of the economy, so people have less money to spend on movies. Is really the logistics. But a lot of spaces were left with 20 screen theaters, and suddenly like there was not a demand for 20 movies to be in those theaters, you know, and so you just they started. They had to readjust, right? And back in the day, you used to go see one movie in one theater, and it'd be like 100, 200 seat theater, and everyone was there just to see that one movie, and no other places within like 15 miles could play that film. So like literally, if you wanted to see Terminator, you're like, okay, this is the theater in LA that's playing it. Like that's the one we go to.
Interesting.
Which just creates like a different thing. I can't say it's better or worse really, but those are some of my favorite theaters in LA are the ones that are still the old movie halls that haven't been converted to, 3 or 4 screens.
Shout out New Beverly.
New Bev, we went to the Regency, where we saw Licorice Pizza in 70 millimeter. That's that's an old movie house, like that's still one screen. Like there's plenty of those spots. Yeah. I was gonna say the last line of this film. Our 2 leads are making out, right? And then Ronnie is there with the camcorder, and he's like recording them, and he says, "Soon to be the most popular video on YouTube." Yeah. I was just like, man, like, what? No, yeah. Just like,
you mean like porn?
God, no, it's such a. Like where YouTube was at this point. I mean, I remember my first YouTube videos literally like, what the fuck is this website? Yeah. Like, what is this thing? And like, it was so early on still. I mean, like people were barely figuring out that you could put sketches on YouTube. Like people would put sketches on YouTube in the early days, and people would be like, is this real? Commenting. Cause they didn't fucking understand that. Like somebody would like frame a thing and put it up. And
right. Yeah. True. Smosh. Shout out Smosh.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Man.
We do that to each other.
Do you know Anthony Padilla has his own YouTube channel, right? He didn't know. Yeah, you should check out Anthony Padilla's YouTube channel.
I'm sure I had known that he'd split off and kept doing stuff. But
the other guy, Ian.
I'm like, I don't know.
I think he's still in Smosh.
Is he?
Doesn't he run it?
Oh, really?
Yeah. You're like the other guy, Ian. No one knows about it.
Yeah. One of the guys left the company.
I think Anthony left it, and I think Ian kind of like runs the whole
double down.
He hires other people.
Whatever's around
something
still.
like that.
Yeah. Man. I mean, it's got to be a cash cow. It's one of the most popular sites
huge.
Forever.
Yeah. It's like
I think it was like a BuzzFeed before.
I was gonna say it's like college humory kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, those all stopped making money a while ago too, but I'm sure he figured out a way. I'm sure they have a Patreon, the Smosh Patreon.
Sure.
Subscribe to the Cinema Stand Patreon for T-shirts and merchandise.
Thanks, man. Yeah. There's no Patreon and no merch yet, but I'll get on that.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something for the future. You can just put
it's future proof.
Just put your face and there it is. Just do one of those. Someone screenshot that and put it on a T-shirt.
I want to do some screen print shirts. That's my idea. It's like do some limited run ones that like, I hand printed myself, hand them out to some friends, but then also like have a small batch to sell. I think that'd be really cool.
Can I get a limited one where you only make like 5? Can I get one of those?
Fuck it. Yeah. Well, yeah. The friends and family one.
Yeah. Members only. Like you've been on the show.
I'll get you one of the test print T-shirts, so it's like, it's one of 5 of the tests. So this isn't the shirt we're doing,
This is patient 0.
Patient 0.
Well, I mean,
boys, yeah. Any last thoughts on Disturbia?
I thought I loved both movies.
I had a good time with both. Yeah,
I honestly
I liked a little more actually. Personally.
I was a bit hyped coming into these. Like I was like, oh, this is gonna be a pretty fun watch, and they were good. They didn't exactly hit my expectations, but like this is a solid double.
Transformers was better than I thought. I knew I would like it because I remember liking it, but I was kind of like, I would have probably assumed it'd be worse than I remember. Exactly. And it's not.
I was thinking it was going to be more like the sequels where you're just like rolling your eyes a bit much, and it's still pretty.
It's got some great blockbuster shit.
I think that's the best Transformers is the first one. I think
it's got to be
only because dilution and bloated. It's like it just waters down at the end.
And also like Spielberg. Like I don't want to attribute too much to that guy, but like he knows what the fuck he is doing. And like if he was like picking some writers and being like, this is the type of story we're going for, like I could see enough of his influences making an impact on the first film. But the 2nd through the 5th become Bay's projects. You know, he's producing them like himself.
It's very interesting. I never knew that.
He really, I feel like he's just allowed to take over a bit more because the first one was a hit, and that's what happens when you get a hit. You say, just keep doing your thing, you know, until it stops working.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing it.
What do you mean you can't make the movie? You got the robots. Keep making it. Did also Transformers kind of ruin dubstep? It's like, oh, it sounds like Transformers having sex.
Can you end this podcast with the Linkin Park song?
And
the credits.
with the
If you're out
dubstep.
there, we are here waiting.
Yeah. If you're out there, I forgot. That's just so
waiting
We're here. I thought
to make the best YouTube video ever.
X.
Sorry.
Starscream.
Well, thank you, Lewis, for having me.
Thank you,
Thanks,
boys.
man.
Can anyone find you on social media? You guys, okay, you're both musicians. I'm just gonna put that out there.
true.
Where can people hear your music? How about that? Plug that.
I'm on YouTube, Voice of Vices. A small little thing.
Yeah.
Not really on Spotify or anything yet, but you know, if my first EP comes out, it should be on all platforms. It should be by the same name.
Hell yeah.
I got stuff on Spotify, but also more of it is on YouTube, and I'm trying not to, but also I have some things I'm trying to push out, and
It's
hopefully
hard.
soon it'll be on Spotify. But
You never know. Down the
You
line,
know.
someone
You
might
might
hear
see a
this.
collab.
Just look these boys up. You know, we'll have the links.
What
in
is
the
your artist
bio.
name?
it's like the dude.
The Dude, huh?
No, it's Brandt. It's Brandt.
Just
Brandt Garber.
Oh, really? That's really cool, huh?
Shit.
Really?
What's yours?
Voice of Vices.
That is cool.
That's okay.
Faith Averick, though, I do really like.
Yeah, just swap my name. My name is a great like stage name.
It
but
is.
I grew up not liking my name, so it's
That's
like
crazy.
Yeah,
Need
you know what I
to
mean?
find some pride in
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you're here as Averick Faeth. You're building the brand right
True,
now.
true. And thanks for everyone who's watching. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for tuning in. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd. You can watch this on YouTube, or you can listen to the audio format if you're watching it. You know, whatever.
Put it on your car.
Go check out an old episode.
Yeah.
You know, write a review on Apple Podcasts.
Slander it, if you will.
Do some shit.
Boycott
Send
it,
this to a
whatever.
friend.
Yeah.
Play this in the background, and don't actually listen to it, but just like pump those numbers up. You know,
Play it. Clean your house and brush your hair. You know, straight up.
straight up, dude.
Talk to your mom.
Talk to your mom on the phone.
Everybody call your mom.
Yeah, just have it playing in the back. You can put it on a mute if you want. All right. Thank you, Louie.
Thanks again, guys.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
This has been Cinema Span.
Cinnamon.
Break myself.
Janet.
Stars.
I was thinking about doing it.